Good afternoon. The Public Safety Standing Committee will come to order. It is Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 4:15 p.m. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. We'll have a roll call. Alderwoman O'Neill.
Present.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles, present. Alderman Gay is on his way. At this time, we'll have an approval of the motion to approve the agenda with one change or two changes being made. Election of chairman pursuant to City Code Section 216-12-0 will move to the end of the agenda, and ID 123, Annapolis Ahead 2040, Public Safety Approach, that would be a public planning and zoning committee, a planning and zoning department presentation by Mr. Eric Lashinsky, and that it will be removed as well. Do I get a motion to move for the agenda and with the appropriate changes?
Motion to approve agenda with amendments.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Next, business and miscellaneous, approval of minutes, PSC 32023, special meeting minutes.
Motion to approve special meeting minutes from 3/20/23.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We will move to general discussion, ID 105-23, Annapolis United Calendar Year 2022 Wrap-Up Report. And we have with us today our command staff from our police department, leadership as well from the fire department and the Office of Emergency Management. One thing I want to mention regarding this report is from 4 different departments. Recreation and Parks, Office of Emergency Management, Fire Department, and the Police Department. This program was voted upon by the council last year in the tune of $185,000. And so we're looking to continue the program for fiscal year 2024. And one of the issues that came about was, as we know, at the beginning of last year, we had an uptick in violence. We started Annapolis United in mid-March of 2022, and it pretty much ended calendar year 2022. And we've had a new director for Rec and Park, so that kind of stopped everything. And so one of the issues that came about in the council was, how do we correlate the lower crime reduction for 2022 with, and even substance abuse disorder, with recreation. And I can understand the valid question, but at this time I'm going to turn everything over to Chief Jackson. And I know Captain Miguez was the one who prepared the report, and all the departments contributed. I also want to thank, for the record, Deputy Chief David Mandel, Office of Emergency Management, who gave us a template to provide this report today. So thank you also very much for being here, Chief. The show is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Alderwoman O'Neill. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce my command staff. I'll start off to my right. Is Captain Justin Kleindes, Chief of Patrol. Captain Lamar Howard, he's my operations chief. And of course, you know, everybody knows Captain Miguez. She put this whole PowerPoint together. And I just want to give a few remarks. What I'm going to do, because of course I was out all last week on bereavement, and I want to thank Captain Miguez for filling in the gap to prepare us for today. But the one thing when I got back from Baltimore, I met with the new Baltimore County Police Chief and the Police Commissioner of Baltimore, and we was talking about some regional issues this morning. And when I got back, in preparation for this hearing today, I asked that the crime numbers be withheld because there's too many things that I want to see done. So I take responsibility for that. The raw numbers are inconclusive. And so I need more time to evaluate the programs. I like the opportunity to talk with Parks and Rec, and we sit down and do a more qualitative type thing. I like to possibly get some surveys out and some other things from residents. The numbers are just the raw numbers, and I don't think that fully tells the story. But having said that, I still stand by my position that there is a direct correlation or correlated it is correlated that recreation and activities for young people, especially during the summer months when school's not in session, has a direct impact on crime, and a direct impact on crime in terms of crime reduction. I still hold true to that. I can get a whole room full of experts that would agree with me. I could go all around the country. I can even go in the state of Maryland and pack this room with scholars and practitioners, criminal justice practitioners, whether you're talking about professors, other police chiefs, community leaders, clergy that would attest to programs like Annapolis United has a direct relationship in crime reduction. When young people have nothing to do, especially in underserved communities, when they're idle, it goes by the old proverb that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. We have to find activities for them to participate in if we want to keep them steer them away from, criminal activity and antisocial and mischievous behaviors. And so I like to, if you're okay with that, circle back with you at a later date, and we'll work vigorously on those numbers to give a more accurate depiction of what the program did to impact the numbers. But I want to make it a part of the record. I still firmly believe that Annapolis United made a very positive impact on our crime numbers, this time last year. And we're going to look at things like COVID and a whole lot of other factors. And then in the near future, I don't have a date set, but I'll coordinate with you, and we'll have a more comprehensive qualitative analysis, as it pertains to the impact of recreational programs and youth activities during the summer months to reduce crime. But as everything stands now, we're looking at crime numbers, and I shared with Captain Miguez before we came here. I said, this is just the raw numbers that Christine O'Neill pulled on that period, and it doesn't tell the story accurately. So if I'm going to go on the record, Madam Chair, I would rather have a more comprehensive depiction of this, but due to the familiar issues, especially surrounding my sister, I didn't get a chance to participate, and I want to participate more in the evaluation of these numbers. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Captain Miguez, and she'll go through the PowerPoint, and then I have my other two commanders. If it's any time that you deem any information appropriate related to your shops, I would appreciate if you chimed in.
Chief, before we get started, thank you so much for that. And yeah, we'll await those qualitative analysis. But I would have fire department as well as OEM chime in or come up front if there's at some point they would like to talk about their programming through Annapolis United, Chief O'Malley, Deputy Chief Spriggs, and Chief Simmons. So you're welcome to come front if you like, or stop at any point during the PowerPoint to give some additional information.
Okay, and I'll say one more thing real quick. I'll make to put this to rest. What you and I discussed was a qualitative analysis,
Right?
And the numbers only that's secondary. The crime stats. What was missing from this to make this report stronger is that we need to talk to some folks surrounding parks and recs. We need to talk to some residents. We need to talk to some people who participate in the program. And that's doable. It's definitely doable because the analysis is not quantitative. We're not just looking at numbers. We're looking at how it impacted young people last summer and how their lives were changed and made better. They had something to look forward to when they got up in the morning. So that's what I meant when I say a qualitative analysis. Anytime you do a qualitative analysis, at some point you have to involve the human element, not strictly depend on numbers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderwoman, women, Chair. I understand there's also a video, and we could play that first if you would like.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and play the video.
Annapolis United is a department collaboration between Annapolis Recreation and Parks, Office of Emergency Management, the Fire Department, and the Police Department, in conjunction with the Mayor's Office to reach out to create activities and recreational programs and events that's going to reach children in Annapolis to sort of take them out of the house, you know, or from the computer, off the streets, and expose them to things that they normally would not be exposed to.
Our core responsibility is to provide public safety and to enforce the law. But in order to prevent crime, we have to approach it a little different.
So all of us as a team, Annapolis United, we get together for the benefit of the community.
Annapolis United allows the fire department to attend community events. It's a great opportunity for us to educate the public. It allows us to train the public in hands-only CPR and how to administer Narcan to an overdose patient. The goal is to save someone's life.
It shows that we're in this collectively and that there are resources available for the communities out there.
If you continue to be consistent in these communities, people are going to learn that, hey, you're a friend, not a foe, and you're coming with information and also resources that can possibly help them.
They don't have any control of what families they're born into in terms of prosperity versus poverty. But I think what we are attempting to do with Annapolis United is we can expose them to things that they wouldn't ordinarily be exposed to that their parents can't afford to.
The first 5 months, and we've taken them on approximately 20 different field trips.
Hello, my name is Lamar. I went to a Navy basketball game.
We went sailing, golf.
A Navy boxing game and a Navy football game.
I went to this boxing trip. It was Navy versus Army, and the Navy won.
Then we went to a basketball game, and we went to a college football game.
And we also switched it up. You know, we went to Assateague Island. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask anybody about Assateague Island, they're gonna talk about that water. They're gonna talk about us doing flips into the waves.
One of the major groups that we partnered with was the Military Bowl folks. They give back by having us bring down about 30 kids from the different neighborhoods to Patriot Point, where they crab, canoe, water sports, nature trail, all of those type of things.
We were able to create almost 25 new programs, Floating Classroom. We got the Color Me Awesome initiatives.
It's about, you know, giving them the knowledge and information that they need to really grow and develop. You know, it's more of a wholesome, holistic look and a holistic approach, you know, to developing these children.
Get Smart in Annapolis United came about because there were 5 recreation centers this year that didn't have after-school programs, which is pretty much a crisis because the homework programs reinforce what they learned in school. So if you don't have that and the parents aren't able to help them, then children fall behind in school.
Hello, my name is Carter. I did my homework at Pitt Moyer. I've been getting better at my multiplication because we've been doing like 1,000 times stuff like so we can get ready for the next grade.
He helps me with that one sheet that I had to spend like 8 days on that one sheet. I was really proud when I got it done. One of my favorite memories. Honestly, just every minute of it. What I love about being here in Pitt Moyer is that I love to be at Velocity and I love the snacks that we have here and I like stuff what we do here.
You know, so that's what we want to do. We want to make school easy for them because when school is hard for them and frustrating, then they fall behind.
They should be able to see the beauty of downtown Dock Street. They should be able to get on the boat and go out and enjoy the beauty and splendor of the Chesapeake Bay.
So what we're trying to do is get the less fortunate communities to see that there's more in the world, and that's one of the things that happen. They don't think that I can do this, I can go out of here, I can make better because I live in this neighborhood. I have to be like the guys that I see hanging on the corners every day. Those are the grown-ups that I see. But I went here with Annapolis United and I've seen a different world. I know that there's a lot more out there. I know that there's a HBCU. I know that there's a Naval Academy that I can go to and see the world. So that's what I hope gets out of it, that they can see other things and they just use Annapolis as a springboard. Take over the world.
So that was a video, sorry, detailing Annapolis United. I'm not sure why it's echoing. Is it that one back there? Try. Is that better? Yeah. Do you want me to use the other one that the chief used? Okay, I will keep going. So, like Alderwoman Pendel Charles said, 4 different departments, but we really can't leave out the Housing Authority of the City of Annapolis as well. They were instrumental in some of the events, partnering with us. And you'll see some of those as we go through the slide presentation. The slide presentation is kind of an overview of the different events, photos from the events, just to kind of show you what the different events were like. And like Alderwoman Pendel Charles said, if anyone from the fire department or the Office of Emergency Management want to come up and speak on their what they were doing at events, the kind of educational things they were doing. Basically it was a venue to get out into Annapolis to provide education on different aspects depending on which department, and then also just to be there with our community members, let them know what our departments do and how we can help some of these events that we were in. So this first slide shows some of the planning meetings. So as you can see, it was collaborative across the board. Some of the meetings involved all the different departments, but then even each department would have some planning meetings as well. There were also, things for citizens at events. So the Office of Emergency Management mentioned this one in the video. Patriot Point is owned by the Military Bowl Foundation, and so they were able to organize a group of kids to go there. There was paddleboarding, canoeing, crabbing, and this is a great event. They do all kinds of different things on the water. It's a location on the Eastern Shore, and about 30 children came to that event. You can just see some of the photos. And then this is Aztec Island. So this is one of the Parks and Rec trips that they took, that there were the pictures of the ponies from the video. Parks and Rec also did different summer camps. So these are some of the photos from their summer camps that they did. Lots of different activities for all ages of children. One of our big community events was the Harbor House Eastport Terrace Family Day in August of last year. There were about 100 attendees, and multiple city agencies had people there, cook out. It was a lovely event. And just a real opportunity for people to interact with each other and talk about all the different issues facing the community. Some of the field trips the kids went on, you can see they were talking a lot about some of the games, sporting games that they went to. So these are some of the field trips that they went on. Another community day we had was at Old Fourth Ward Day, which was in August again of last year. About 150 attendees came through that event. Again, multiple agencies were there, demonstrations from people in the community, different performances. Then the Chambers Park end of summer celebration in August of last year, they had a huge group come through. And these are kind of events that were in addition to all the programming that Parks and Rec were doing. So an opportunity for the families to also interact with the different departments and not just the children. Another event was the Safeway Fall Festival in September. There were school supplies, there were different community organizations, live music, food. A lot of our community partners, a lot of times the schools were involved in these as well. I believe this one actually, the new school superintendent attended. Again, a really good way for the community to interact with different people involved in their children's lives. The Kunta Kinte Festival, which is a huge festival that is in the city, having the educational booths there, police and fire. And I didn't have any pictures from Office of Emergency Management, but I think they're usually there as well. Robinwood Community Day was in October of last year. Again, cookout, giveaways, different activities with the kids. And then the Stanton Center Winter Health Fair. Again, really important messages to get out to the community about health and wellness. Then one thing the police department did also throughout the year, starting in I believe in April of last year, to just last Friday was our most recent one, was our Facebook Live Annapolis Protect and Serve community updates that we do. Since we've been doing them, there's been over 22,000 viewers reached, and we take the time to highlight what's happening in the community safety-wise, but then also talking about the community events that we're doing and asking for people's feedback about other things they'd like to know. We do educational pieces. Our last episode, we really focused on the uptick in thefts from vehicles and motor vehicle thefts we've been seeing in the city, to get the message out that people, can remove items from their cars, lock their doors, remove keys, spare keys from vehicles, things like that. And then I just wanted to show, this is a list of a lot of the different programs and activities and events that were done, most of these by Annapolis Recreation and Parks. You can see sailing classes. There were woodwind sailing trips on the yacht that's usually downtown. The Get Smart Club, after school club. Like Mr. Chucky said, there were several community centers that did not open for after school tutoring this past school year. And this program really stepped in to fill that gap for those kids. And there's also there was a Capital City Go-Go game. There was the Hoop Bus that made a couple tours. Peace in the Streets basketball. They did art pop-ups in several locations, besides all the fun days and festivals and celebrations that you saw the photos of. So I'd just like to invite either Director Simmons or Chief O'Malley, if any of them would like to add anything.
Kevin Simmons, Director of Office of Emergency Management. Just want to thank Annapolis United. When we didn't get to do many of them activities, but we figured that the ones that we were a part of, we touched about almost 20,000 people. And the bulk of those came from the Kunta Kinte Festival. We were involved in Harbor House, Eastport Terrace, Patriots Point, Old Fourth Ward Day, the Safeway Fall Festival, where we were able to do flu shots as well. And the Kunta Kinte Festival, like was noted, it was about 10,000 folks that come through there. So what Annapolis United did for us was they supplied us with outreach materials. They assist us with transportation and food for Patriots Point. So they were an integral part of what we did in community outreach. And I just want to thank them. I really appreciate what they've helped us out with. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, did Julian load up that Assateague Island 1 minute video?
I'm not sure. Sure if Julian, let's see.
Oh, okay, here it is.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Julian.
Put your stuff down, baby girl.
All right, thank you. Anything else before we take questions at this time? I want to acknowledge Director Johnson, who's here from Rec and Parks. Alderwoman?
Thank you very much. I appreciated the presentation, and I was happy to see all of the kids' smiling faces. I have a couple of questions. There was made reference to the fact that after-school programming in 4 elementary schools didn't happen.
It wasn't the elementary schools, it was the Housing Authority of the City of Annapolis. So Robinwood, the Eastport Rec Center, which serves Eastport Terrace and Harbor House, the former Newtown 20 community, which was rebuilt. I believe they have maybe once a week programming, but that community center that was run by Housing Authority used to operate 5 days a week after school and provide meals for those children that went to it. All these rec centers not only were for after school tutoring, but also provided meals for those children through the programs. And I'm not sure what the fourth one is.
Go ahead.
Eastport Terrace.
So did Annapolis United take over those programs, or no? They
we could not they could not operate out of the Housing Authority buildings, but those kids were bused. So kids from Robinwood and kids from Eastport were bused to Pitt Moyer instead of them not doing anything.
Right. I guess my question revolves around, like, if I look at the Get Smart Club, is that what took the place of those?
Yes. Yeah. The Get Smart Club, it was the after school. And I'm sure Director Johnson could speak to that because I believe it's still ongoing. It's not that it has stopped or anything. That program is continuing.
Right. I heard from the person who is the tutor, which is Mr. Lloyd, that is still ongoing and he's hoping for the funding. I guess my worry is that it was only 15 children, and if there are 4 community centers that effectively didn't operate, do we have a way of corralling more children from those if they're not going to operate for the coming year?
I can't speak to that part. I don't know if Director, I know you're new in the position. Do you have?
Welcome, Director Johnson.
Good afternoon. For the record, Rosalind Johnson, Director of Recreation and Parks. We could have more participants.
The mic, please.
Transportation will be. We could have more participants. Transportation will be the challenge. Currently, we have one driver, and that's Mr. Chucky, I believe, who you all have all met, and he drives the one van that we have. I don't know if he has his CDL license and will be able to drive the school bus or not, but transportation and picking up from all 4 sites would then be the challenge.
Okay. I guess I would love to see that portion expanded if we've got children who were used to going to their rec centers and those rec centers are no longer offering. I'm guessing that the need is greater than 15. And I'm going to throw out there that there is a employee of OEM who has a CDL. Not the director, but I know of one that helps with Food Fridays that I'm wondering if we could expand the program by having somebody with a CDL driving a bigger bus. I'm just throwing that out there. I know that OEM does a lot of different things, but I fully support what's been going on with Annapolis United. I'm just looking at ways to, it's great that 10,000 people went to one festival over a 4 or 5 hour period. It would be great to see that 15 really encompass probably what's closer to 100, if I had to guess, students that we could be offering a more structured after-school program.
we would then have to change our ratios. And we'd have to hire additional staff in addition to the driver. Right now we have usually a 1 to 11, 12 ratio. We do have Corinne who comes, and she's pretty faithful about coming. So it's a 2 to 11 or 12 ratio with the average daily attendance.
Great.
And just to chime in, not to take anything away from Parks and Rec and what they're doing, but these community centers are in those communities, and then transportation isn't an issue. And it would be nice to see those community centers being utilized to their fullest, because I think it would probably not be super feasible to have a huge homework club at the Parks and Rec building, which is already very well utilized by people. So I think it would be a problem finding even the space necessarily to have that many kids come.
Good point.
Yeah.
And as happy as I am with this report, here's the thing for me, and the reason why I didn't present the numbers. The population that we serviced was definitely on the preventive end, but the people that would impact our index crime are older people. The kids that we took on the trips and did those things, I'm not minimizing that importance. But our direct crime number, especially our violent crime, is impacted upon our ability to reach those potential trigger pullers. Those kids who are in middle school, who are about to make the choice as to whether they want to lead a life of productivity or lead a life of destruction. And so when you talk about how Annapolis United impacts the community, I think the proper template has been laid. But when you mention the community centers, then we have to find ways to engage younger people, to get into GED programs if they're struggling to get through Annapolis High School or any other high school in Anne Arundel County. Maybe sit down with the principal at the Phoenix Academy, where many of the students are struggling to make healthy choices, to bring to the community centers vocational training programs, like with Anne Arundel County Community College. That impacts our hardcore crime numbers. When we talk about murders and robberies and aggravated assaults and domestic violence and all of those types of criminal numbers that impact the quality of life, then we have to have a serious discussion about activities and programs under Annapolis United that address the needs of the communities. For example, the Stanton Center. What's attractive about the Stanton Center to me, we could have a night where, because it's right near Clay Street and Oldbury Court, and that corridor where we have some of our most problematic crime, is to have programs that would appeal to the older adults. And it doesn't always have to be jobs and training. I'm of the mindset you give a man or a woman a job, it takes the danger level of that individual down exponentially. People are dangerous because they're disenfranchised and they self-medicate, i.e. street drugs, and they have rage, anger, they're mad. And when you put all those things together, that makes for a dangerous individual that we have to confront. So what's attractive about the Stanton Center, we can even have chess tournaments, things that even recreation at older kids and or young people, youth, that 15 to 24-year-old range, programs like that, and kind of intermingle them, use a catch, much like the boxing program. Remember, the boxing program is about the draw and having an activity that older boys and girls could participate in and get something out of it, it's a difference how you engage them. It's like pedagogy versus angogy. You have to engage older people differently than you engage younger ones. So every time I go to the Stanton Center, it's my humble opinion that it's underutilized in terms of bringing the types of programs And I know symbolically the kickoff for Annapolis United was in the Stanton Center. Remember the day we kicked it off?
Oh, yeah.
And so symbolically, it should be about bringing those types of programs, job training, maybe get somebody from the Maryland Department of Transportation, give a man and a woman a driver's license. That's the start. You can get a lot of jobs that pay decently with the ability to drive, having valid identification. And we make the assumption a lot of times that grown people have those basic needs, and those basic needs are not met. When those basic needs are not met, then you have criminal activity, because then the drug trade becomes more attractive. You out there in the streets, and when you're out there in the streets, you're going to have conflict. When you have conflict, then you have violence. When you have violence, especially in Annapolis, you have retaliation. For every shooting, Lamar, we have to factor in the retaliation aspect of it because the communities are so small and everybody knows each other. And so what we're working to do is and we've done a yeoman's job, a fantastic job of finally getting the community to talk to us because they were silent for a long time. They know who pulled that trigger. They wouldn't tell us. And now we're getting people thanks to Annapolis United and that weekly appeal that we make to the public, we're starting to get information now. So if out of this presentation today, as we move forward, I think that it's a clarion call as the chief of police to put it out there. Let's think about maintaining what we've already did, but build upon it by having programs that not only deal with the young people, but to target the potential trigger pullers and violent offenders to engage them. And then we can better take these crime numbers and analyze them and show a direct impact that I know it will show. But we got to, engage older people. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to present the actual crime numbers today, because the people, this program that we had, the vast majority of them are not responsible for the crime numbers. That's on the preventive end for the future. When you go to the elementary schools and the early middle schools, they're not the ones that's discharging these shots at night, shooting up and down Clay Street and these other areas. We need to get involved in those people and steer them away from that activity.
One thing I just want to kind of bring Director Johnson up to speed. Last year in January and February to mid-March, we had a big uptick in violence. We had one homicide. And I gave a State of the Public Safety address for an hour. And that night, former Director Trader said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "I don't know, but we're going to do something." We looped in the chief the next morning. And that next morning on March the 15th, we started Annapolis United. And the first thing was protect and serve is what we did. And the chief will tell you, within 24 hours, a gentleman who had handgun charges, had an outstanding warrant, turned himself in. So we knew we were on to something, and we knew basically we were flying a plane in the air because we had to do something. And this was something good, very good to do, but something had to be done to engage the children at least, and the community as well with the community days, to let people know that we were there for them. And as the chief indicated, getting more tips is all part of this. Annapolis United, Protect and Serve is a huge part of it. And so that has really what the genesis of all this was. Something had to be done immediately, and we couldn't wait and sit around and talk about it and all that. So we had to come up with something that we knew would work, and that was the first thing. And then from there, we managed to put together a lot of activities. And the one word I will use that we've used in the school system is intentionality. There was an intentionality about this to make sure that we had these events. We made sure that we attended and participated in these events. We made sure that we talked to the people who were there. And so there was a big push for intentionality and strategy behind all of this. So just to kind of give you a quick and dirty 2 to 3 cent tour of how this all came about. And that's how this has run its course. But as the chief indicated, we want to expand on what we can do and who we can focus on. And that's another leg or another part of it that we can certainly work on.
And I'll make one small correction. You were right when you said we were in the morning talking, but remember, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning. There have been many 1 o'clock in the mornings. And with the Annapolis Most Wanted. And we had talked about, the chief and I had talked about that a while ago, but this was the perfect time to do it. And then we ended up watching, looking at that and taking a look. And so it was very intentional. And the intentionality came with bringing all the public safety teams as well as Rec and Parks together, and the mayor's office as well, Office of Community Services. Aaron Lee was part of it. So we made sure that we focused, and we needed people to know that we were there and why we were there, because people would ask, well, what's Annapolis United? And so we explained to them why we did it and what it was all about and what it was for. And like, oh, okay. And so, like I said, the next leg, hopefully the council will see fit to keep it going in some form that we see, and it will morph as we go along. So thank you. Alderwoman O'Neill.
Thank you. I do have continuing question in that line, and my question to you would be, if you had to pinpoint the most successful and the least successful of the program, could you talk to that? And
absolutely. I think that the spirit of what we did impacted the community tremendously. When I say the spirit of what we did, a lot of times the messaging reverberates in a way that action can't. And I said it kind of jokingly, it's the truth. But our conversation that day, we were concerned about, because coming out of the pandemic, we were worried about that. Remember, this was coming right out of the pandemic, and we had a flux, increase in crime. Earlier that year, the young lady was murdered on Madison Street, and we were worried about what the summer might bring. Even looking at the crime rates in the region, we were looking at Anne Arundel County, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and all of them were experiencing very high numbers of violent crime. We were worried that it would come here. And the one thing that we have been doing through our reentry program is trying to provide opportunities. So to answer your question, I just think the whole idea of Annapolis United was the most powerful thing. The least powerful thing would be that as I was preparing, I was looking at it last night, I said the data set, the participants doesn't match the crime numbers. In other words, most of the people who participate in this program don't impact our crime numbers. And so what we're going to do, I just whispered to Captain Miguez, is that when she gets back, we'll sit down and look at juvenile crime. And I think we'll have a better measure to show how juvenile crime was impacted, lowered by doing this. So now we need to up the ante and get older, our trigger pullers involved. See, for me, that's the challenge. I want to make sure that at my age, I still have what it takes to engage these trigger pullers and bring them, get them to think differently, get that criminal mindset. We started that with Alderwoman Finlayson, and I thought it was very significant. For example, just to give an example, when she had Robert on, a month and a half ago? Just a month and a half ago, going to Annapolis school, because she called me one day upset. This is Alderwoman Finlayson called me very upset one day, and she said she was at Annapolis High School, and all the kids talked about were, many of them, being drug dealers when they get out, because they can make more money being a drug dealer, and it would give them more street credibility and respect. But when you come from environments like that, that's all they have. So for them, a badge of honor is being a tough guy on the street, because they're not looking forward to graduating Phi Beta Kappa from Yale, or taking over a family business, or doing some of those things that many of us take for granted. Their world is that they have to survive. And even in high school, so she called me, this is Alderwoman Finlayson, and said, do you think Robert Horn would mind come and talk to the kids, and then we have a job fair and take job flyers and training? And they went out on the streets. They went into Eastport Terrace and Harbor House and Robinwood and gave out flyers for job training. And Rob took some of the resources that he used for the reentrance or the positive impact people and gave it to these young men, even ones who hadn't been identified as offenders. And so I think there needs to be another discussion to better utilize those centers like the Stanton Center, to have maybe a job fair one day, or have people to expungements for minor offenses, and programs like that. And then try to find something that young teenagers and young adults would enjoy doing, activities, recreational activities that they would enjoy doing as well. And some of it is going down to the Severn and the Chesapeake Bay and going down to Dock Street. Because I know since I've been in Annapolis, I was amazed. I talk to people 35 years old, and the farthest they've been is West Street, They've been in Anne Arundel County. They've gone north into Anne Arundel County, into Glen Burnie and Severna Park, but they've never even been downtown to enjoy Main Street. And I'm talking about these are people well into adulthood. So some of those programs that we took the younger kids on, children on, we could do that for adults too. We just have to engage them in a different way. So I think the most powerful thing, Alderwoman O'Neill, is that the messaging was very powerful. Annapolis United. It highlighted the public safety team that we are. I think the improvement would be when we talk about our crime numbers, then get engaged a population that we can more marry up to our regular crime numbers, and then we'll come back before Alderwoman Pendell Charles's committee with juvenile numbers to support what we did last summer.
And to piggyback off of the chief, we've had our internal preliminary meeting in Recreation and Parks, and I've mentioned to both chiefs about our teen nights that we would like to start to do. And so we're looking at this August, having our first teen night, and that will kind of be a precursor. And it will all be indoors at Pitt Moyer to start. And then in the fall, we have a meeting coming up with Dr. Bedell. We would like to have every high schooler in Annapolis attend a symposium at Pitt Moyer, and there'll be 5 components to the symposium. And I'm sharing with you the skeleton. It has not been planned out because the committee has not been pulled together, and we haven't had our first meeting, but this is the skeleton, that there will be 5 pieces to it. It will be Fun City, which is out of school time, Safe City, what can we do to make you feel safe, workforce development, mentorship. Shoot, I hate listing 5 things because now I forgot the 5th one, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. We will also have affinity groups too. The teens will help and assist in the planning of this, but affinity groups such as LGBTQIA+, as well as African American, Hispanic American, so that everyone will kind of see themselves in there. In the programming that we have, and we will have support systems based on the feedback that we have from the teens, and that will help inform us for our yearly rollout for teen nights. The chief remembers when we did it back in the day in Baltimore City. We had a teen night in Druid Hill Park, and everyone thought we were not right for having a teen night in Druid Hill Park on a Friday night from 7 to midnight, I think it was. And we had some pushback from one of the chief staff, but we had 0 incidents. And we pushed back on the chief staff person and said, you can either help us or you can solve the problems once they arise. So he was all on board. And the teens thoroughly enjoyed it. The pool was open, basketball 3-on-3 tournaments, we had a DJ, but just a safe place for teens to come and hang out and have a positive relationship with an adult that they're not necessarily related to.
Director Johnson, following up on what you said, that sounds wonderful. And last year, the budget was $185,000 for Annapolis United, and the funding went through Rec and Parks Department. Right now, because we weren't sure how this was all going to unfold, there's a placeholder within the mayor's budget for $100,000 now. And I just reiterated and explained to Alderwoman O'Neill what happened was, basically, the Annapolis United stopped, except for Protect and Serve, the end of December. So there weren't a whole lot of activities that were going to be planned for the winter. We were waiting for the spring to come, and then we were going to have Easter week, and then we had a couple of weeks before school ended before we got to the June 30th. So some of the money was being held back, and then we had one of the staff members resign. So there was some money left over in that budget. I'm not quite sure. It may have been around $40,000, but I can't say for sure. You probably know. But one of the issues was would the program still be housed at Rec and Parks, number one? And based on what you're saying today, would you be willing to accept, if we vote as a council, for the 185, starting, I guess, July 1st, or whenever we can figure it out, to accept that money for your budget for fiscal year '24?
Yeah, I think we're certainly open to having a larger conversation to make sure that's the right place. Perhaps it is, perhaps maybe it should be somewhere else. We don't know, but we're not grabbing at anything. I think it's a conversation, and we'll come to the table, and whatever the decision is, of course, we would absolutely support
Well, you
it.
stuck yourself in the hole because you told us about all these wonderful programs and they don't come for free. So at this point, I can only speak for myself. We're looking for a placeholder. I mean, we're looking for to get out of the placeholder, but a permanent home. Thank you. A permanent home for these funds, and don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
I'll be quiet.
All right, my last question is this. Did any of your 4 departments last year, I kind of know the answer, but I want to hear, have access to the internship program that the city ran? Would you have access? Do you want interns if you didn't have them this year? And what would you do with interns to help in this program?
Well, it's interesting. I got a call a couple of days ago from Dr. Chuck Wexler. Amy's getting ready to go there to study next month.
Yeah.
The Police Executive Research Forum is a Boston-based law enforcement think tank, and their headquarters now is in Washington, D.C. Well, he called me, today is Monday, so it would have been Friday afternoon, he called me about internships, and there's a push on, I think he got a grant from the U.S. Department of Education to identify historically black colleges and universities throughout the United States. Because the research, and I've known that research all along, I'm a HBCU graduate myself, as I know the Alderwoman is. And generally, when African Americans graduate from college, the last thing they want to do is go into police work, by and large. Some do, but most don't. So Dr. Wexler, and this will probably be a topic that Captain Miguez will be exposed to in June when she goes down to Boston to study there. They are having paid internships, and it's going to be centered around HBCUs. Some of the most prominent schools in the country: Morehouse College, Spelman College, Jackson State University, Grambling. I mean, they're going all across the country. Morgan State, Coppin State here locally, UMES, and they're going to have paid internships that the grant's going to pay for to get. And the whole, and it's going to be a research component to it. They're going to study this, and the whole idea is to get more African-American men and women who graduate and earn their degrees from historically black colleges and universities that want to come into law enforcement. So I agreed to accept one. They asked me if I would accept one in the Annapolis PD. They'll pay, just give them a stipend and pay for the expenses. They just want us to spend time with them and sell them on the idea that it's a noble profession, a profession I love. And they said the interesting thing was that Coppin State University said, your alma mater, and they said, we studied you, Chief. First of all, when they called me, they knew I graduated, did my undergraduate work from an HBCU. So they figured that I would be for that because of my background. But secondly, they talked about how Coppin was way ahead of the game because they have a criminal justice program there. They actually have you can earn your bachelor's degree from Coppin State University in law enforcement and criminal justice. So they're one of the few HBCUs in the country that does produce quite a few police officers. And they're talking about police officers, not federal agents. Now, African Americans do go to federal agents, like the FBI and all the federal agents when they earn their degrees. They just don't want to come to local law enforcement. So he's not here today. He's been on long-term leave, but we would have discussions every day we come to work, me and my deputy chief, about having a robust internship program. And my focus is that the program should be targeted almost exclusively for Annapolitans. And I think that's a gap too, Alderwoman, that we need to go on Clay Street and try to convince some of these young men and women before it's too late and they can't pass a background check, that we do want them in law enforcement. And many of them do. Believe it or not, many of them do. The problem is, the tragedy is that they get caught up and they make mistakes that they come to regret. Then when they age out or they don't want to be bothered anymore, they say, I wish I hadn't ran with those guys because I would always wanted to be a cop. It's not popular to say if you live in Oberry Court, but you'd be surprised that the young men and women from those communities would love to be cops. Law enforcement officers. It's just that the environment sucks them up before they get the opportunity to be able to be certified as police. So I was hoping that some type of internship program would help turn that around too in those affected areas. That's just another example of how this Annapolis United has to be targeted to gauge the older people. And if we do that, then I think we are being innovative again, just like the reentry program. We could actually start a movement that could affect the region. And next thing you know, if we take the lead in Annapolis, as we should, we're the capital city. That's what I love about reentry. My vision is that people will be calling us from other jurisdictions, much larger jurisdictions, saying, Chief, can you send somebody there to talk about how you're engaging older adults? And so yes, ma'am, internships would be wonderful.
And so
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just was going to speak to the city's program for this summer. I believe it's already in the works. So just to give you a background, in the past, the police department has participated in Anne Arundel County's workforce development summer program to get older students to come and work for us during the summer. That was paid through Anne Arundel County Workforce Development. They provided training and matched us with kids for what jobs we had that they could do during the summer. We did that program for several years, and then the city had their program last summer that we participated in, and that program is continuing to this summer, as far as I know, through the city's HR department. And I believe they're going to do the same kind of thing, match kids up to the department that matches, and give them training as well, have them apply for the jobs they're interested in the city, and then go in for interviews, like a real job experience, rather than just getting matched and automatically going to a position. So we're planning on participating in that as well.
So in Recreation and Parks, we are participating in that program. We have either 7 or 9 that we've requested through the county's workforce development program, but we're also working with the mayor's office. We will have ideally 10 to 12, 14 to 16-year-olds engaged in summer camp. We empathize with the chief's story last year, and we feel the best place for the 14 to 16-year-olds is with us at Recreation and Parks. We all know that exposure can change lives, and a positive relationship with an adult can do the same. So the youth will participate in essentially an internship / summer camp where it's about exposure, where they'll visit St. John's College, where they'll meet with the chiefs, and learn about opportunities there. But it will be about exposure every week. We have not created the program yet, because what we'd like to do is, once the youth have been identified, we'd like to survey them and find their interests so we can kind of tailor a program that will meet, someone will see themselves in every aspect of the program. We are also going to coordinate with the alternative schools to get the information out to those schools. I believe there are 2 in Annapolis, but I think I'm on month 2, so I could be off by that. But we do want to target those youth so that they have the opportunities as well. And we will also send the information to our REACH program, which is at Annapolis Walk. It's a team program that we had a staff person who was staffing that, but just recently transferred to another position within the city. But the ideal piece for those youth is workforce development as well, where they want a job during the summer. So they will have the opportunity to apply and then see if they can get into the program.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One thing I want to mention, last year, Anne Arundel Workforce Development was in a bind, and they needed some money for their summer internship program. And Alderman Gay had gotten, I think it was about $200,000 in his program, and I asked him, would he give workforce development $92,000 of that, and he readily said yes. And I will sing to the highest height Alderman Gay's philanthropy and not miss a beat in saying absolutely. And so the council voted for that, and I think maybe it'll be much more on target and more balanced this year when we have our HR department actually being in charge of it and doing the things that need to be done to get our young people on board. But I think it's going to be, well, I know it's going to be great. And so we're looking forward to all of that and some new things coming. So absolutely. Thank you so much. Is there anything else, Director Johnson, you wanted to mention?
No, nothing else.
Okay. OEM or fire? You have the opportunity now if you want to add something.
Just to dovetail on everybody else on the intern program, we do participate in that. We do the city program. I'm with the police chief in that we kind of targeted folks from the city of Annapolis and create opportunities there where there's no opportunities. But we also have another intern that we have from grants. We have a special grant that we can get interns. So the last couple of years, we were able to have 2 interns in shop. And I'm hoping to do that again this time.
Okay, great. And from what I was told, what I got it straight from the source is that your intern that you had last year and year before now has an internship this summer on Capitol Hill.
He's doing well.
He's doing extremely well.
You will vote for that young man one day.
Yes. But anyway, anything else, Chief? Anything else from your team?
That's pretty much it. What we'll do is, like I was saying, that I was ashamed with my captains, that they'll bring the numbers up, not just quartet, so please.
Your mic.
Is that better? Okay. Yeah, like I said, the only thing I would add is that we'll get you those numbers. It's just that and I looked at the numbers when I got in today. I said, these numbers are not reflective of the population that we serve by and large. And so it wouldn't be a credible analysis. But I think that the good news is that I'm certain that when we look at juvenile crime, it'll reflect that how impactful Annapolis United is. So we'll get that to you. We'll start working on that immediately.
Okay.
And then we'll just add the proposal to up the ante, like we talked about with oldest people, and then we'll come back and look at our NIBRS statistics, our National Incident-Based Reporting System numbers, or our UCR numbers, our robberies, our shootings, and all of that, and then that'll be for a future date, and then we'll have a more credible presentation in terms of the numbers. And then we'll make this one more qualitative and go back and interview a few folks that was, or get a survey out there and make sure we get the survey back. So I'll get everybody to help me with that.
Okay.
Is Rhonda McCoy in here?
Yes, she is.
Okay, yeah, so if she's listening, she's a big instrument person, so I'll call you out. Are we on TV?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'll call her out on TV. I haven't turned my back, but Rhonda, you need to help me with an instrument to measure this. Are you there?
Yes, she's there. She's sitting in the back.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted you to speak up so you can get on the TV as well. So I have so it's witnessed throughout the city of Annapolis. So we'll come back and we'll do that for you, Madam Chair.
Okay. But I'm gonna, as old folks say, I'm gonna claim it. The 185 I think should continue to be parked in Rec and Parks, working also with Office of Emergency Management, the Fire Department, and the Police Department as well. And I'm gonna persuade my colleagues to do that. I think moving up to the teen level will certainly give us another dimension on looking at our numbers, and then even up to the youth of age 24. That's usually how we move up. So we can certainly do that. But like I said to Director Johnson, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So we can certainly work on that as well. So, and Director Johnson, you're invited anytime to our Public Safety Committee meetings. They're usually the first Monday of the month at 4, but sometimes we move around. Generally, I'm hesitant in having a meeting if we don't have legislation or something specific on the agenda, because I look at public safety as being on the ground and out rather than sitting here, and I won't say twiddling our thumbs, but better use of their time out on the street. So that's usually kind of how I approach it. But we have great people here, Alderwoman O'Neill as well as Alderman Gay. So we're here to protect and serve as well. Anything else for the good of the order? Going once, going twice. And Ms. Burke, thank you so much for being here today, our new Assistant City Manager. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions? Okay, all right. All right. I'll get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, I hear nay. So moved. We adjourn at 5:24 p.m. Thank you all so much.